Hey there, Heather Ho there. It's Jeff Cutter Diamond welcoming you to yet another Cutter Sports Catastrophe project. This is the second last Sports Catastrophe project I'm doing. The last one will be to give you all the Sports Catastrophe analytics and all that you want to know. So anyway, we're doing the famous 2024 in memorial. You see the picture on the screen. If you're watching it by video, you know all those guys and all that. If you're listening by audio, then I got to describe each of one of these members. I have on the board um, 27 names. It was 30, but then there were a few that I didn't agree with at first. So I went with 27 names of famous people, famous sports people who have died. Now, of course, the list will be subjective because, different people, different things. But I got good memories. All right, so our first major person who died was January 6th when Mario Salgado passed away. Salgado is not really known much in most circles, but Salgado is known for being the Brazilian head coach when they won the 1970 World Cup and basically was the greatest team goal of all time in the final against Italia. But people forget that Salgado actually won a couple World Cups as a player in 58 and 62 alongside Pele and Garrincha. So Salgado was a legend. Then the next day, January 7th, Franz Beckenbauer passed away. Beckenbauer was a great German midfielder, well, defender slash midfielder. Like, he was a defender, but he liked to play like a midfielder and all that. He helped Germany win the 1974 World Cup on home soil, and then he won a World Cup as a manager in 1990. So that was actually amazing. And one name you don't see on the screen is Anders Brehme. He died. He was the guy who scored the winning penalty in 1990 to have Germany win the World Cup over Argentina. Then April 11th, I got hit with a double whammy, if you will. The early in the morning of April 11th, I was reading up on stuff, and then Wikipedia Steps in 2024 said that Akebono had died. Now, who is Akebono? Well, Akebono was a famous sumo wrestler from Hawaii. Sumo wrestling, I know, is a Japanese sport and all that, but I follow sumo closely as well. But yeah, he became the first non-Japanese sumo to be yokozuna, or grand champion, meaning that you can't be demoted. If you're no seki, you're a champion, but you can get demoted down the ranks. But you can get promoted to yokozuna and stay yokozuna. Akebono won a couple major tournaments in early 93, and by rule, he had to be considered to be a yokozuna, winning 2 tournaments as an oseki. People were probably thinking they didn't want Akebono to be in because he was American, as Konishiki had a golden chance the year prior, but Konishiki may have ruined his chances by saying that if he were Japanese, he would be yokozuna, but it was a stablemate of his that actually may have ruined it for him. Regardless, Akebono was named Yokozuna, and he had that great rivalry with Takano Hana in the 90s that brought sumo back to the lexicon. Akebono even wrestled in WWE WrestleMania 21 in the sumo match against Big Show when he beat Big Show, although it was worked. And then later that day, April 11th, 2 days after my birthday, the great O.J. Simpson died. Now, I know your opinions of him are massively divided, and I get that. But I'm looking at O.J.'s sporting career. I'm not looking for his post-playing career, which a lot of people suffer from. O.J. Simpson was a legend for USC in the NCAA and then in Buffalo for the Buffalo Bills. First guy to run for 2,000 yards. And this is in a 14-game season. Imagine what more he could have done in a 16-game season. Probably got to 2,200 yards. But the fact of the matter is that, yeah, OJ was a great runner. He was one of the best running backs around on a very woeful Buffalo squads of the 70s. And then April 16th, Ken Holtzman died. I know some of you have been thinking, why did I include Ken Holtzman? Well, he threw a couple of no-hitters as a member of the Cubs. And, he was a great player, one of the greatest Jewish players around. Sorry, Sandy Koufax. Regardless, he was on the list. April 20th was Roman Gabriel on 420. No. As Roman Gabriel, great quarterback for NC State, and then in the NFL for the Los Angeles Rams in the 1960s. The teams that just couldn't get to the Super Bowl or even the NFL championship game, they would be thwarted. One time the Rams were thwarted by a tiebreaker to Baltimore? I think they were. But anyway, that's that. Um, yeah. And then April 25th, Canada really suffered because one of the most legendary play-by-play men in hockey history, Bob Cole, passed away. Bob Cole started his career in the late 60s for CBC Radio. And in the 70s, he got into the NHL, broadcasting a lot of games. He did a lot of Leaf games. He was basically the Leafs regional guy after Bill Hewitt left. And practically Bob Cole was, the voice of the Leafs for many years on Hockey Night in Canada on CBC. He would be doing other games too. In 1976, he was the play-by-play guy when the Soviets played Philly. Remember? They're going home. They're going home. Yeah, they're going home. As the Soviets got angry over Philly's tactics. But Bob Cole did the 2002 Winter Championship Olympics for Canada when we finally won the gold medal after 50 years of trying in hockey. He was amazing and all of that. He worked till 2020, I think it was. But yeah, he's an icon. Next, on May 11th, was Ron Ellis, who wore number 6 for the Leafs. He was a pretty serviceable player in the 60s and 70s for Toronto. Lasted a long time in Toronto organization, which was great. He was the guy who actually wore number 6, even though that was supposed to be retired for Ace Bailey after that accident in 1933. But Ace Bailey himself allowed Ellis to wear number 6, and then, the number 6 was then unofficially retired again until it was retired in 1991. Dutchy Dietitian, May 15th, key player for TSN Sports Center because TSN rocks and all that. And, he did Sports Center. He was pretty good, larger than life. He was on the Sports Center Celebration Tour. I didn't see him. I saw Rod Smith with Keith Burness. Oh, no, sorry. Rod Smith and Jennifer Hedger on it. Regardless of that, he was great for TSN Sports Center, working for 25 plus years with TSN. And during the Sports Center, he would make a few appearances in Corner Gas, like Corner Gas the movie, and then that Corner Gas episode when Brett helps his team tie the Saints, and Darren Dutition appears in a dream and saying that he was called up by the Vancouver Canucks. May 27th, big death in the NBA family is Bill Walton, the towering redhead, as they call him, passed away. He was a great player for the Portland Trail Blazers, helping them win the 1977 NBA title. Of course, he was a legend in the NCAA for UCLA when they had that 88-game winning streak and all that. He was just dominant, especially in 73 in the NCAAs. Unfortunately, foot problems would ruin Walton as, he couldn't play too many full seasons. He went to San Diego for the Clippers and then went to Boston, where he was a bench player coming off the bench for the 1986 Celtics NBA title holders. So, yeah, he was great. And then he would do color commentary on a lot of NBA games and all that. He was a big presence. Then on June 12, another NBA death happened. Jerry West, number 44 in your programs from the LA Lakers, spending all of his, 15-year career with the Lakers and all that? He even played for the Minneapolis Lakers before they became the LA Lakers. Of course, if you know the NBA silhouette, that was the inspiration. Jerry West is the silhouette in the NBA logo. Jerry West, known for his great shots, being part of great teams in the 60s and 70s for the Lakers, and in 1970 with that 50-foot buzzer beater from half court to face the Knicks. But unfortunately, in the rules, that was a 2-pointer. By our rules, he would have a 3-pointer and the winning basket, and his shot would be way bigger. But yeah, Jerry West was an executive for the Grizzlies and the Lakers, built Showtime and all that. So yeah, the Lakers owe him a debt of gratitude. June 18th, baseball was saddened by the loss of Willie Mays. He was in his 90s though, and almost was part of the Negro Leagues MLB showcase and all that, being honored. because they were going to play a game at Rickwood Field. And the Giants were, I think it was Giants White Sox, I can't remember. But nevertheless, Willie Mays was an icon. And Willie Mays, you know, played his rookie year was 1951, the same year as the Giants coming back from the dead to win the NL. And he was actually on deck when Bobby Thompson hit that home run to win the pennant. He served a few years in the military and came back very strong with the home runs and all that. A lot of people would be like, how good would William Mays have been if he didn't miss 2 years in Korea? Well, what if Ted Williams didn't miss time in Korea or in World War II? But the fact that Willie Mays was an icon for the Giants franchise, New York Giants and San Francisco Giants, his big home runs and all that. Unfortunately, Candlestick Park kind of ruined his home run exploits. He probably would have got to 700 if it wasn't for Candlestick Park's wind and all that stuff. The San Francisco wind. The simple fact was that the Giants, debt of gratitude to him, and number 24 in center field, part of the best New York center fielders, with DiMaggio for the Yankees and Duke Snider for the Dodgers. So, yeah, Willie Mays was legendary. He played for the Mets. He was part of the 73 World Series losing team. And the Mets even gave him number 24 as a retirement. So, yeah. And 24 All-Star games he played in. Then, June 28th, the Giants organization lost another key guy, Orlando Cepeda, the baby bull from Puerto Rico, I think. Anyway, Cepeda was a great hitter all that for both the Giants and the Cardinals. The Giants early in his career, and then he went to the Cardinals and helped them out in the late 60s, getting a pair of pennants. So he was a good home run hitter. And then July 14th, a lot of people don't know this name and should know the name of Jacoby Jones. He was a wide receiver for both Houston and Baltimore. You'd be thinking, well, was he active? No. Then why the heck is he on the list? Well, because he made one of the greatest touchdown catches in Ravens history. In 2013, in the divisional round in Denver against Peyton Manning and the Broncos, Flacco threw up a floater, and Jacoby Jones beat his man downfield with under a minute left in the fourth quarter to score the tying touchdown. Ravens win in double overtime. But yeah, Jacoby Jones will be honored forever. And I believe he had that kickoff return for a touchdown in the Super Bowl. Yeah, he did. He's the guy who had that kickoff return to start the third quarter of Super Bowl 47. So, yeah. And then July 16th, Joe Jellybean Bryant died. He didn't really have much of an NBA career. He did play for the Clippers. He was part of the Clippers. I remember watching NBA Classics that he was on part of the Clippers when they faced the Lakers on CBS in 1979. And Kareem put a skyhook to beat the San Diego Clippers. You know, the Clippers were in San Diego at the time, before going to LA in 1984. But yeah, Jellybean Bryant, it's big. And it reminds me of the Simpsons quote from season 4 when Grandpa says, well, in that clip show thing, it's always a tragedy when a father outlives his son. But now that it happened, I can see the bright side of it. Next, July 18th was Abner Hayes. Or Haynes. I think I misspelled it. But yeah, Abner Haynes was a pretty great player. He was an AFL icon, you know, the American Football League that was trying to take things away from the NFL, and the AFL bringing us most of the AFC teams nowadays were in the AFL, like Buffalo, Cincy, Miami, the Jets, the Chargers, the Raiders, the Oilers/Titans. You get the picture. But yeah, Abner Hayes was great. Great running back for the Dallas Texans, which moved to Kansas City to become the Chiefs in 1963. Haynes would always go down as making one of the biggest blunders of all time in 1962. Actually, one of the biggest blunders that actually was moot. So it was the 1962 NFL title game between the the Houston Texans and the Dallas Texans. No, the Houston Oilers and Dallas Texans. So Haynes won the coin flip for Kansas City, and he said, "We'll kick to the clock." But what happened was he said kick, and they weren't supposed to kick. They were supposed to receive. The good news was that flop didn't ruin it because the Texans did win in double overtime. Nevertheless, August 26th, Sven Goran Eriksson. He passed away. He was a great England manager, taking over from a woeful 1998 squad by Glenn Hoddle, who got sacked mostly because of his comments towards disabled people, which really riled me up as a person with a disability. And then, he was great. And 2002, helping England squash Germany, that 5-1 game in Germany, of all places, just made it big. And that's why England won the qualifying group and got automatically to the World Cup, that they didn't need to go to a playoff, which I think they would have done well anyway. So regardless of that, Sven Goran helped England out. They lost the quarters to Brazil because of a floating ball that David Seaman did not jump for in the net. Nevertheless, Sven Goran was huge. He was canonized by English soccer fans. And he was great. Eriksson becoming the first foreign-born English manager in soccer. Next, August 30th, the biggest death, I think. It has to be Johnny Gaudreau. Number 13 in your hearts for the Flames and the Blue Jackets. Main reason? Because he was an active player. He wasn't like everyone else on this list. He was active. He was still playing. And he was going into his third season with Columbus. I thought it was his second season with Columbus, but nope, it's his third season with Columbus. So the fact of the matter is that, Johnny Gaudreau passed away. He was great for Calgary. Great goal scorer, helping the Flames win their 2022 playoff series against Dallas in Game 7 in overtime, which is amazing. He scored a Game 7 overtime goal. He's a hero, just like Joe Ward. I'm just random name. But anyway, Johnny Gaudreau, Johnny Hockey, everyone loved him. All that Flame fans loved him, even though he went to Columbus. Columbus got snake bit. Unfortunately, though, Gaudreau and his brother got taken out by a stupid drunk driver who was trying to speed past cars and, hit them. Johnny and his brother were hit with, they were riding bikes because they were in the New Jersey area because their sister was getting married the next day, and then he fucking died. You cannot imagine the shock of the moment when Johnny Gaudreau died. Because that morning, I was at work, before I was at work. And then I flipped to Facebook for some reason, and I saw Johnny Gaudreau dead. And I'm like, no, that can't be right. So I go on Sportsnet's webpage on my phone, and there it is in black and white. And I told my coworker, Eric Markin, I said, Johnny Hockey has just died. He's like, no, really? Yep. And I showed him the phone, and it was confirmed by the NHL. It was like shock and awe. Johnny Gaudreau dead, and he was an active NHLer. Many people wish that Columbus would retire the number 13 for Johnny Gaudreau, but I think Calgary should be retiring number 13 for Gaudreau as well. Also, let's not forget that Cole Caulfield of the Habs changed his number from 22 to 13 in honor of Gaudreau, and he's been one of the best goal scorers. September 23rd was Mercury Morris. I know that it's like that name doesn't really make too much sense. But yeah, Mercury Morris was part of the Miami Dolphins three-headed running back monster of the 1970s alongside Larry Sonka and Jim Kick, who I think they're both dead. I think Sonka's still alive. No, I think Sonka and Kick are dead. But yeah, Mercury Morris was fantastic and all that. The Dolphins in the 70s owe him some gratitude. And then September 30th was a double dip of deaths. First off was Dikembe Mutombo. At lunchtime, I was scrolling through my phone, and they said Dikembe Mutombo had died. I'm like, oh my God. And then, of course, just like most things, I'm like, well, I got to do a tribute game because I have PC Replay Baseball for baseball tribute games. Basketball is PC Replay Basketball. Football is Second and 10, and hockey is Stone Cold Hockey, if I have it. But yeah, Dikembe Mutombo. And then, great player for Denver and Atlanta. Yeah, he was great for Georgetown in college and then went to Denver. And I believe his second season was when Denver pulled off the great upset of Seattle in the first round of the 94 NBA playoffs. And Mutombo, the image is always there of Mutombo lying on his back with the basketball in his hands, saying, "Oh my God." And the Nuggets surprised Seattle. It was the best of 5. I think it was best of 7. Maybe the Supersonics win the next 2. But anyway, he was good with Atlanta. He was known for his finger wagging after each block. The NBA told him not to do it anymore. But then the NBA made the rule saying that if you wave your finger to the fans and not directly at a player or a ref, that's fine. Anyway, because that would be taunting. So anyway, I do that tribute game. And then all of a sudden, I was watching a baseball stream for our jail network. And someone mentioned Pete Rose dead. And I'm like, Pete Rose? So I go to Wikipedia. There it is. Pete Rose, his death. I'm like, no fucking way. Pete Rose died younger than I thought he would die. But yeah, Pete Rose for Cincy, number 14 icon. I just wish the Reds would retire his number or let MLB allow Cincy. I think they did allow Cincy to retire his number 14. But yeah, Pete Rose was good. Charlie Hustle, he was known for his hustle on the base paths and all that. He was a pretty good hitter. He had a 44-game hitting streak in 1978, the longest in NL modern history. Yeah, he was good. Charlie Hustle, the all-time hits leader, beating Ty Cobb's record, which is hard. Well, Pete Rose's 4,256 hits are hard. You have to get 21 years of 200 hits in a season, and that's 4,200. Most players don't last 20 years in the MLB. But then, Pete Rose was an icon and all that. He left Cincy and became one of the biggest free agent signings as the Phillies gave him a 5-year deal in 1979 and helped the Phillies win the 1980 World Series, their first in franchise history, and then got to the World Series in 1983. He was part of the Wheeze kids for Philly, that the old players like Rose, Morgan, and a few others. And then Rose jumped ship, and guess where he landed? Montreal, of all places. He was a Montreal Expo for half a season before going back to Cincy. But hey, he got his 4,000 hit as an Expo. He was a Montreal Expo. He always will be. Anyway, October 7th was Johan Neeskens. Now, a lot of soccer fans will know who Neeskens is, especially Dutch soccer fans. But yeah, Johan Neeskens was a midfield genius. He was pretty good. He complemented Johan Cruyff on the Dutch teams of the Dutch team of 74 when they almost won the World Cup but lost to West Germany. 78, Neeskens and the Dutch did get to the final but lost to Argentina. October 8th, fantastic moment. But yeah, October 8th, the tragic death of Louis Tion. Everyone knows him as the screwball, like the screwy pitching delivery of him. Kind of reminds you of Fernando Valenzuela. But anyway, Tion was a legend, especially in Boston in his later years, helping the Red Sox win the 1975 AL pennant, going to the World Series. Unfortunately, was he the guy? Yeah, Tion pitched a 150 plus pitch complete game in Game 4 of the World Series in '75 to tie the series at 2. But yeah, Tion will always be a legend in Boston forever. And speaking of Fernando Valenzuela, 2 weeks later, October 22nd, he passes away. So that was just humongous for me because, Fernando Valenzuela died. And that was when the Dodgers had clinched a spot to be in the World Series, and the World Series hadn't started yet. But yeah, that was just hard. Fernando, 1981, as a rookie, like his official rookie season. He did pitch in 1980, but he didn't pitch enough innings to not be a rookie in 1981. 1981, he went on fire. He started 8-0 with an ERA of .50. He was just putting on a show. The Mexican American fans in Los Angeles flocked and all that. They wanted to see Fernando, and he helped the Dodgers win the NL pennant. Yeah, he was great. He won the Cy Young. I think he won MVP, didn't he? No, he won Cy Young and Rookie of the Year. But regardless of that, Fernando was just fantastic. And yes, he did pitch in the famous Blue Monday game. He was the starter for the Dodgers in the Blue Monday game, going toe-to-toe with Montreal and Ray Burris. And Fernando actually got the only RBI for the Dodgers before the ninth inning with an RBI ground out. So that worked out. And Fernando pitched 8 2/3 innings, had to be relieved by Bob Welsh, who got the final out. And of course, Rick Monday had that home run in the top of the ninth off Steve Rogers. Fernando won in 1988 a ring with the Dodgers, even though he wasn't really that effective. And in 1990, he pitched a no-hitter the same night as Dave Stewart. So that's just amazing what he could do. His eyes to the sky delivery, fan freaking tastic. So I logically went with the Dodgers for the World Series pick. I'm like, dude, the Dodgers are going to win because they're playing for their fallen comrade. And I was right. Dodgers in 5. And then December 11th, Rocky Colavito passed away for the Cleveland Indians. He was a great player for Cleveland. There was a massive curse on Cleveland's franchise once Colavito was traded to Detroit in 1960. People thought that was the end of Cleveland's heyday. And it was. Cleveland got Colavito back, but then traded him away later on. But yeah, the 60s and 70s were not kind to Cleveland fans. Or the 80s, I should say. December 21st, massive death. Ricky Henderson passed away for the Oakland Athletics. I can't remember. I think someone messaged me saying Ricky died. Or I saw it on Facebook. I was on my phone watching my brother try to renovate my basement and all that. But yeah, I pick up the phone, go on Facebook, and there it is. Ricky Henderson had died. Jaw drops. Like Ricky Henderson, the greatest leadoff hitter in MLB history. I dare you to say someone else. But yeah, he was great for Oakland. He was a base stealing merchant, 130 stolen bases in 1982, still the modern record. Most players don't even get to 100. I know Ellie De La Cruz got to 80 plus in 2024, but not there. But yeah, Ricky was a speed demon. He beat Lou Brock's base stealing record. Of course, Ricky was a bit of a showboat. And then when he honored Lou Brock, says Lou Brock was great, but I am the greatest of all time. Asshole. But yeah, Oakland traded him to the Yankees in 84. Well, after the 84 season, and he played for the 85 Yankees that almost won the AL East, but those pesky Blue Jays got to him. Yeah, he was good for the Yankees, and then they traded him back to Oakland in time for 1989 in Oakland's redemption song after losing the 88 World Series to the Dodgers. So Ricky was a one-man show in the 89 ALCS against the Blue Jays. Like, they just couldn't get him out. A's swept the Giants in the World Series. Ricky went back to the World Series in 1990, but those pesky Reds swept the A's. Ricky would then be traded in 93 after Oakland was faltering to Toronto, of all places, in a trade deadline deal that saw Steve Carsey be dealt. Who needed Steve Carsey? Anyway, Ricky was there for the Blue Jays, part of WAMCO, WAHAMCO, with White, Alomar, Mulder, Carter, and Olerud. Ricky was not that big in the playoffs, but, I mean, after all, he was on base when Joe Carter hit the 3-run home run. Let's not forget that Ricky started the bottom of the ninth in Game 6 against the Phillies and Mitch Williams by taking a 4-pitch walk. Got to second base on Paul Mulder's bloop single, and then Joe Carter hit the 3-run home run. Ricky signed back with Oakland, and then he skipped to San Diego, back to Oakland, to San Diego, to the Angels, to the Dodgers. I think the Red Sox picked him up for spring training, but he never played for them. But yeah, he got his 3,000th hit on the same day Tony Gwynn played his last MLB game, October 2001. But yeah, Ricky was great. He's the all-time runs leader, as in he has crossed the plate the most times in MLB history. So yeah. And the last major death, December 27th, the great Greg Gumbel passed away. He was a sports anchor for years. He was the brother of Brian Gumbel, who chose to go to NBC's Today Show and be a newscaster. Gumbel, a sportscaster. Gumbel would do some NBC broadcasts for football in the 90s and all that. Yeah, he was famous in 1997 for NBC when he was the play-by-play guy when the Rockets and Jazz played in the Western Finals, and Stockton hit that 3. Stockton for 3. Yeah! John Stockton has sent the Utah Jazz to the NBA Finals. That was just amazing. And people forget that Greg Gumbel actually was the play-by-play voice for the 1993 ALCS between the Jays and the White Sox. Mostly because of his Chicago roots. They picked Greg Gumbel. But yeah, people forget he was part of the 93 ALCS crew on CBS, taking over for Dick Stockton for the ALCS. Sean McDonough did the NLCS, in case you need to know. But yeah, Greg Gumbel for NBC, a few moments. It was with Phil Simms in the NBC booth. And then once NBC lost the football rights, he went to CBS and became a pretty good announcer. So good that in 2001, Super Bowl 35, Gumbel became the first African American to be lead play-by-play of a major sports championship, that being Super Bowl 35. Gumbel would be play-by-play for Super Bowl 38 when the Pats won the Super Bowl against Carolina on Vinatieri's second field goal in Patriots history to win a Super Bowl. But yeah, Greg Gumbel always will be great and all that. He was once the best football voice for CBS, and part of the NFL Today crew. But yeah, Greg Gumbel will always be big, and everyone will be big in everyone's heart. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I do.